Chosen one. Pause. Stop scrolling. The noise of the world has been roaring around you all day, but in this moment, heaven itself has pressed pause on everything. You think it was your thumb that landed here by chance, Onumuk, but I tell you the truth, it was not an accident. This is divine interruption. God has placed his hand upon your screen, whispering through the unseen realms. Listen. You have felt it for days, maybe even for years, the tug inside your spirit that tells you there is something more. You've looked around at others and wondered why you never seem to fit in, why the world's rhythm has always sounded slightly offbeat to your soul. It's because you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to awaken right now. As your eyes trace these words, heaven watches. Angels take note. The Father himself leans close. For this is not just another message, it is an appointment written in eternity. You have wandered through seasons of silence, confusion, and exhaustion. But this moment marks the turning point. You are standing at the intersection between ordinary and divine. Listen carefully when God interrupts your life. It's because something holy is about to begin. Every chosen one throughout history experienced a divine interruption before stepping into purpose. Moses encountered the burning bush while tending sheep. Mary was interrupted by an angelic greeting. Paul was blinded on the road to Damascus. You, right now, are being interrupted by a message sent through digital light but burning with heavenly fire. The reason you're still breathing, even after all the storms you've survived, is because there is something inside you that darkness could not kill. You carry divine DNA, and it's been quietly waiting for a moment like this to be activated. As the prophet David once wrote in the Psalms, chapter 46, verse 10, "Be still and know that I am God." Those words are not simply poetic. They are a command, an invitation to pause your racing thoughts and remember who governs the universe. You do not need to chase validation or force doors open. He who chose you will open them in his timing. There have been days when your faith flickered like a dying candle. The weight of betrayal, rejection, and confusion pressed down so heavily that you wondered if you'd ever feel light again. Yet here you are, still searching, still reading, still breathing. That alone is proof that heaven has not abandoned you. Right now, heaven is aligning everything. What felt like delay was actually preparation. What felt like punishment was protection. Every closed door was mercy in disguise, and steering you away from paths that would have led to destruction. You thought you lost time, but in truth, you were being hidden, preserved, trained for the moment when God would say, "Now, look deeper within yourself. Look deeper within." That restlessness, that ache, that stirring, it is divine confirmation. You've always sensed that your story was different, and now heaven confirms that you are chosen. Not chosen because you are perfect, but chosen because you are willing. Willing to rise again, willing to believe again, willing to let go of what no longer carries light. Your obedience today could shift generations. Do you understand that one yes from you can break generational curses, heal bloodlines, and open blessings for those who come after you? This is why the enemy fought you so hard. He saw your potential long before you did. And now, this message has found you. Do not ignore it. Do not scroll away like this is just another inspirational clip. Heaven is watching your response. When God sends a word, it demands acknowledgement. Your act of faith might be small, perhaps just whispering, "I hear you, Lord," but it opens a divine doorway. So, beloved, let your heart bow in this holy interruption. Close your eyes for a moment and breathe. Feel the weight of heaven pressing gently upon you. The atmosphere is changing around you even now. A divine exchange is happening, your weariness for his strength, your confusion for His clarity, your anxiety for His peace. If this message has reached you, it's because you were meant to hear it. It's a reminder that God is not done with you. The story isn't over. You haven't missed your calling. What was meant to break you will soon become your testimony. This is your time to step into the light, to declare before heaven and earth that you received the call. Do not fear what comes next. God goes before you. If you can feel that stirring inside your chest right now, don't suppress it. It's heaven knocking. It's time to answer. Let this be the day you stop running and start rising. Before you leave, show your obedience in a small act of faith like this message. Share it. Subscribe so you never miss what heaven wants to say next. And in the comments, type 111 as a sign that you are responding to this divine interruption. You've always felt it, haven't you? That quiet difference, that subtle distance between you and the world. From your earliest memories, there was something inside you whispering that you did not belong to the ordinary rhythm around you. You tried to blend in, to silence the pull towards something higher. But heaven would not let you. You could walk into a crowded room and still feel alone, not because you were unseen, but because your spirit was marked for something beyond what others could understand. This is the mark of the chosen. It is invisible to the eye, yet undeniable in the soul. It is the weight that makes you restless when others are comfortable. The fire that pushes you to seek truth when others are content with illusion. You have been set apart since the beginning, not as punishment, but as preparation. You were never meant to fit into the mold of this world. You were created to break it. And so, God allowed you to walk a lonely road for a time. People came and went. Promises were made and broken. The ones you trusted often turned away when your light grew too bright for them to handle. Yet even in those moments, when your heart ached and your prayers felt unanswered, heaven was whispering, "I am still here." You were being refined in solitude so that when your time came, your voice would carry the sound of heaven, not the echo of the crowd. You are marked for impact. You are the answer to someone else's prayer, the vessel through which light will enter dark places. That is why the opposition has been so fierce. The enemy doesn't attack the empty, he attacks the anointed. Every moment you questioned your worth, every time you felt unqualified or unseen, the enemy was trying to convince you to bury what heaven planted. But the soil of your soul refused to let it die. There is something sacred about being chosen. It means that even before your first breath, God saw the entirety of your journey, the triumphs and the tears, and still said, "I want this one." Your weaknesses didn't disqualify you, they became the proof of His strength in you. Your pain didn't make you less spiritual, it made you more real, more usable, more compassionate. As the Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 5, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." Those ancient words are not distant history, they are living truth, pulsing through your veins right now. Before you ever faced rejection, before you ever doubted your worth, before you ever took your first breath, God had already written your purpose. He placed His fingerprint upon your life and whispered destiny over your soul. You are not an afterthought. You are an intention. That mark has guided you even when you didn't recognize it. It has drawn you towards certain people, certain moments, certain divine intersections that could not be explained by logic. Sometimes it manifested as discomfort, a job that fell apart, a relationship that ended suddenly, an opportunity that vanished just when you thought it was yours. But those weren't losses, they were redirections. Heaven was steering you toward the place where your calling could breathe. You see, the chosen often mistake isolation for abandonment, but in reality it's incubation. God hides His treasures until the appointed time. like seeds buried beneath the soil. You've been kept in darkness not because you were forgotten, but because you were being prepared to bloom. The world isn't ready for what's inside you yet, but soon it will be. Every time you felt unseen, heaven was watching. Every time you thought you were forgotten, heaven was writing your name upon its scroll. The mark of the chosen cannot be erased, not by sin, not by shame, not by failure. You can run from your calling, but you can never outrun the one who called you. His seal remains. And this is why you have always felt different. The world celebrates temporary things, but your heart longs for what is eternal. Others chase recognition, but your soul craves purpose. That is the evidence of the mark upon you. It refuses to let you settle. It keeps pulling you higher, away from imitation, toward authenticity, toward heaven's will. So when the world tells you that you're too sensitive, too intense, too different, remember, those are the very traits that make you chosen. Your depth is not a flaw, it's a divine design. You are a mirror of heaven walking among men. You are a voice of eternity disguised in flesh. Do not despise your difference, embrace it and nurture it. It is the language of your destiny. The mark that makes you misunderstood today will make you unforgettable tomorrow. There will come a day when every lonely night, every unanswered prayer, and every tear you've cried will make sense. You'll see that you were never being punished. You were being positioned. You remember the silent nights, don't you? The ones where the world slept peacefully while you stared at the ceiling, wondering if anyone, even heaven, could hear your quiet cries. There were no witnesses to those tears. No one saw the shaking hands, the prayers whispered into darkness. But God did. Every sigh, every unspoken word, every ache in your chest was recorded in the archives of eternity. You thought you were alone, but in those hours of stillness, heaven was closest. The silence wasn't punishment, it was divine training. God was strengthening you in the shadows so that when the light finally came, you would know how to stand. You see, the chosen are not built in applause. They are built in obscurity, and the oil of anointing flows in secret before it ever shines in public. And you, beloved, were being anointed in your tears. Every sleepless night became a seed of endurance. Every disappointment became a brick in the foundation of your faith. While you questioned whether God still cared, He was silently crafting something eternal inside of you: resilience. There's a sacred beauty in the moments no one sees. That is where the transformation happens. It's where heaven forges warriors. The nights that tried to break you were actually equipping you. They taught you to depend on God when there was no one else to depend on. They taught you that faith is not proven by comfort, but by persistence. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 30, verse 5. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Those words are not poetic consolation, they are prophecy. They promise that the pain you've endured has an expiration date. The same God who allowed the night will command the morning. Your tears were not wasted, they watered the soil of your destiny. Maybe right now, you're still in that night season. Maybe you still wake up heavy, wondering when relief will come. Hear this clearly: God is not absent, He is watching how you wait. The silence is His classroom. In it, He refines your trust, chisels your faith, and strengthens your resolve. Every prayer you thought went unanswered was actually being stored, gathered like dew to be released in divine timing. And when that moment comes, the release will not be small. It will not be subtle. It will be a flood of joy so overwhelming that every tear you ever shed will make sense. You will look back on this season and realize that God was closer in the dark than you ever imagined. Your suffering has not been for nothing. It's been producing something eternal in you. The nights you thought would kill you have instead prepared you to carry light. The heaviness you feel is not weakness, it's the weight of glory being built inside you. Do you know why you feel things so deeply? Because your heart is tuned to heaven's frequency. You carry the compassion of the Father, the endurance of the Son, and the fire of the Spirit. That combination is powerful and it terrifies darkness. So, even when you don't see progress, know that God is working behind the veil. Every second of your obedience, every time you refuse to give up, every whispered "help me" has been moving heaven on your behalf. The miracle doesn't always start with thunder, it begins quietly, like dawn creeping across the horizon. And before long, your morning will break. When it does, the same people who overlooked you will see the light that you carried through the storm. The same ones who doubted your strength will marvel at your peace. Because it won't be your doing, it will be divine. The oil from your midnight tears will shine brighter than any spotlight could ever offer. The chosen are not defined by how loudly they celebrate, but by how faithfully they endure. You have endured, and that endurance has marked you as ready. Now, as you stand on the edge of a new chapter, take a deep breath. The night is ending. The first rays of joy are already touching the horizon of your soul. Heaven is shifting things on your behalf. You may not see it yet, but the light is moving toward you faster than you can imagine. So do not curse your nights, they made you who you are. Do not despise your tears, they baptized you into strength. The silence did not steal your voice. It tuned it to heaven's frequency. If this message resonates deep within your spirit, I want you to take a small but powerful step of faith. Comment: "My dawn comes," not as a wish, but as a declaration. When you write those words, you are prophetically agreeing with heaven that your season of darkness is closing. You are telling the storm, you cannot stay. You are aligning your voice with the promise that joy is not distant, it is near. Your dawn comes, chosen one. It comes not because the night was short, but because the night fulfilled its purpose. And soon, the light will reveal who you've become: stronger, wiser, unshakable. There has always been a war for your attention, hasn't there? The moment you take a step toward peace, something comes to pull you back into confusion. The moment you find clarity, chaos rises again. You've wondered why life seems to swing between breakthrough and battle, why the enemy never seems to let you rest. It's because he knows what you carry. The enemy studies those who are marked by heaven, and you, beloved, are marked. Every chosen one becomes a target. The greater your calling, the louder the warfare. The enemy does not waste his energy on those with no destiny. He attacks the ones with potential to destroy darkness. That's why he's tried to keep you distracted, delayed, and drained. He fears the moment you realize who you truly are, because the second you awaken to your authority, his power over you collapses. Look back over your life. Notice the patterns, how distractions always arrived right before you were about to make progress. How emotional storms rose just as you began to grow closer to God. That was not coincidence, it was strategy. The enemy's favorite weapon is not destruction, it's distraction. He doesn't need to destroy your life if he can distract your purpose. The subtle voice that tells you, "Do it later," or "It's not that serious," is not harmless, it's a trap. Each delay, each moment of compromise pulls you one step away from divine alignment. But even now, heaven is sounding an alarm, calling your spirit back to attention. You have lingered too long in confusion. The time for hesitation has ended. Understand this: spiritual warfare is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like exhaustion. procrastination, or endless scrolling? It looks like small compromises that slowly dull your discernment. The enemy wants you numb not because he can defeat your calling, but because he can make you forget it. Yet deep within you, something is stirring again. The embers of your spirit are being reignited, and that flame will not be put out. The apostle wrote in the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 10, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." Those words reveal everything. The battle is not random, it is about your abundance. The thief wants to steal your joy, kill your faith, and destroy your purpose. But Jesus came to give you life that overflows. You are not meant to live in survival mode. You are destined to live in divine overflow. The very things the enemy used against you, pain, fear, betrayal, will become the tools God uses to build your testimony. You've been through enough warfare to know that not every battle is physical. Some wounds aren't visible but still bleed internally. The sleepless nights, the anxiety that comes out of nowhere, the sudden heaviness that tries to crush your chest, all of it is part of a spiritual assault designed to silence your spirit. But hear this truth: the very fact that you can still feel, still pray, still believe, means the attack has failed. You are still standing. You have survived what others could not because your spirit refuses to surrender. Even when you were weary, your soul clung to heaven. You didn't lose your faith, it was being purified through fire. And now, your spirit is awakening to a deeper awareness. You are beginning to see beyond the surface, recognizing that not every storm is sent to destroy you. Some are sent to reveal what still needs healing. Do not despise the battle. The presence of warfare is proof of your worth. The enemy fights hardest against what he fears most, and he fears your awakening. He fears what happens when you stop reacting and start discerning. He fears what happens when you realize that the chaos around you cannot override the peace within you. There is power in awareness. Once you recognize the pattern, you can break it. The distractions that once entangled you will lose their grip when you decide to guard your focus like treasure. The enemy can roar, but he cannot devour what is shielded by divine attention. You are stepping into that awareness now, a place where your eyes are open and your heart is anchored in truth. This is your moment to reclaim control of your atmosphere. You can't stop the storm from forming, but you can choose how you stand in it. You can refuse to let your mind become the devil's playground. When the lies of fear whisper that you are unworthy, answer with truth. When shame tries to revisit old wounds, respond with faith. Every time you choose peace instead of panic, you win another unseen battle. Heaven never asked you to fight alone. Angels surround you even now. You may not see them, but they move when you speak words of faith. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead lives in you. That power is your inheritance. It's not something you earn. It's something you awaken to. There comes a moment when heaven speaks louder than everything else, when the noise of the world fades, and your spirit feels the tug of eternity pulling you closer. That's what this is. Chosen one. Heaven's wake-up call. It's not a shout, it's a whisper that shakes the ground beneath your feet. You've been drifting through a fog of confusion, trying to find your footing between what used to be and what's yet to come. You've felt the ache of transition, the strange place where old doors have closed but new ones haven't opened yet. It's uncomfortable, uncertain, and at times, it feels like silence. But it's not silence, it's preparation. God has been rearranging things behind the scenes. You've been sensing it, the restlessness, the dreams, the inner stirring that refuses to let you go back to what you've outgrown. Heaven has been clearing space in your life, making room for what's next. There is a divine rhythm in this season. Like a seed buried in soil, you may feel covered, but you are not forgotten. Something is happening in the unseen. The pressure you feel is the sign of new life breaking through. Heaven is saying, "Wake up, the time has come." As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 27, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." Maybe you felt unworthy of such a calling. Maybe your mistakes feel too heavy, your past too stained. But the wake-up call isn't for the perfect, it's for the willing. God isn't asking for your perfection, he's asking for your attention. When he says, "Follow me," it's not an order meant to confine, it's an invitation meant to free. The voice of God rarely competes for volume, but it always competes for space. It doesn't shout above distractions, it waits for surrender. And now, that whisper is echoing through your heart, saying, "This is your time to rise." Imagine standing at dawn, watching the first light pierce through the horizon. That's your soul right now. You are awakening from a long night. Heaven's light is touching your spirit again, and it's time to respond. But here's the truth, responding to God isn't a one-time decision. It's a lifestyle of listening. Every day you tune your spirit to his frequency through stillness, through gratitude, through surrender. The more you listen, the clearer his voice becomes. Come. You might be wondering, what does he want from me? The answer is simple, your heart. Once he has that, everything else follows naturally: your time, your gifts, your obedience, even your generosity. When a river receives from the rain, it doesn't hold back, it flows outward, nourishing everything it touches. In the same way, when heaven pours into your life, the response isn't to contain, it's to overflow. You give because you've been given to. You share because you've been blessed. You plant because you've been watered. If this message has awakened something inside you, let that awakening be more than a feeling, let it become a movement. Share this light, like a torch passed from one hand to another. Your simple act of sharing might be the spark that reignites someone else's faith. When you share this message, you are helping heaven's voice reach another weary soul still lost in the dark. If you feel led, subscribe to stay connected, not because of algorithms, but because every message is a seed, and seeds grow best when planted in consistent soil. You don't have to walk this journey alone. This is a community of chosen ones rising together, step by step, heart by heart. And if your heart feels stirred to give, to sow into what heaven is doing through this message, do so not out of pressure, but out of gratitude. Think of it like tending a vineyard. You're helping ensure that the fruit continues to grow, that more souls can taste the sweetness of God's love. Every seed sown into divine work returns multiplied, not just in numbers, but in transformed lives. You're giving your time, your prayer, your generosity is not a transaction, it's worship. It's the echo of your yes to heaven's call. So pause for a moment. Feel that heartbeat. It's the rhythm of destiny pulsing inside you. Heaven is speaking softly, saying, "Wake up, my child, the time for wandering is over. Walk with me." This is your divine alarm clock, the sound of heaven shaking you gently, reminding you that you were never meant to sleep through your purpose. The call has come and it carries your name. Now rise, beloved. Let the light touch your spirit. Let your life become the testimony that the world needs to see. You've heard the voice. You know it's real. There are days when the weight on your shoulders feels almost unbearable. You wake up already tired, carrying burdens that no one sees. You smile in public, but inside, you are fighting invisible battles. And though others think you are strong, only heaven knows how close you've come to breaking. But here is the truth: what you carry is not ordinary. The heaviness you feel is not weakness. It is evidence of your divine assignment. God placed something sacred in your spirit. And because of that, the weight is greater. You are carrying purpose, promise, and generations within you. You are carrying the prayers of your ancestors and the hope of those who will come after you. That's why it feels so heavy sometimes. It's holy weight. When God entrusts you with destiny, He doesn't give you something small. He gives you something eternal. And though it may feel like too much, He has also equipped you with the strength to bear it. You were not chosen because you are the strongest. You were chosen because you are the most surrendered. You've been walking through seasons where it feels like no one understands what you're going through. Even those who love you can't comprehend the depth of your struggle. You try to explain, but words fall short. And so you carry it silently, doing your best to hold it together while heaven watches and whispers. You're not alone. Heaven knows the weight you carry, the late nights, the hidden pain, the moments where you said, "God, I can't do this anymore." And yet somehow, you still did. That's not coincidence, that's grace. The kind of grace that doesn't remove the load but gives you supernatural strength to keep walking with it. The prophet Matthew recorded in his Gospel, chapter 11, verse 28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Sometimes God allows the weight to remain so that you never forget who sustains you. If you carried only what you could handle, you would never learn dependence. You would never know His strength until your own runs out. And that's the beauty of being chosen. You are constantly being reminded that heaven is your source. Your tears have watered the soil of your faith. Your pain has become the very tool that shapes your power. Every hardship, every heartbreak, every heavy moment has been molding you into a vessel strong enough to carry glory. That's why you can't compare your journey to anyone else's. Your assignment is unique, your preparation personal. Others may not understand your silence, your isolation, or the battles that rage inside your mind. But heaven does. The Spirit of God has been walking with you through every dark valley, whispering strength when your voice could no longer pray. You are not breaking down, you are breaking open. The pressure you feel is birthing something. Just as a diamond is formed through intense heat and crushing weight, your spirit is being refined into something that can reflect heaven's light in its purest form. So breathe. You are not failing. You are forming. Every sigh, every moment of surrender, every whisper of faith when all seemed lost, it all counts. Heaven sees it. The world may not notice, but angels record it. Nothing you've carried is wasted. There will come a moment, sooner than you think, when the very things that once weighed you down will become the evidence of your endurance. You will speak of your trials not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because through it all, you discovered the secret of the chosen. Their strength is not their own. When you finally rest in His presence, you'll find that His arms were beneath you the entire time. The weight was never meant to crush you. It was meant to press you into His heart. So if this message finds you heavy today, let this be your reminder: God sees you. He has not forgotten the burden you bear, and He is not asking you to carry it alone any longer. Heaven is offering rest, not as an escape, but as empowerment. Take a deep breath and whisper this truth over yourself: I am still standing because heaven is holding me. And if your heart agrees, if this resonates deep within your spirit, take a small prophetic step right now. Comment 777. That number symbolizes divine completion and spiritual perfection. When you write it, You are not just typing digits, you are declaring, "I lay my burdens down, and I trust heaven to carry what I cannot." Let that simple act be your release, your surrender, your acknowledgement that even when the weight feels unbearable, God is still enough. You are seen. You are held. You are carried by grace. There is a strange kind of pain that comes when people turn away from you, when the ones you thought would stay forever suddenly disappear. When loyalty fades like smoke, and silence becomes the only answer to your questions. You have felt it, haven't you? That hollow ache of watching someone you trusted slowly distance themselves, leaving you wondering what you did wrong. But heaven wants you to know you didn't lose people. You were released from them. The rejection that wounded you was not cruelty, it was clarity. It revealed who was meant to walk with you and who was not strong enough to stay through your transformation. You see, the light you carry exposes truth, and not everyone can handle truth. Some were drawn to your warmth, but they could not endure your fire. When your calling began to grow, it started to convict what was stagnant around you. And so, one by one, those not aligned with your purpose began to fade. At first, it felt like betrayal. You cried, you prayed, you asked God to restore what was broken. But over time, you began to notice something. You could breathe again. The air felt lighter. The weight of constantly proving your worth was gone. That's when you realized rejection was protection. God was not taking something from you. He was taking you out of something that could not carry your next season. Heaven often removes people quietly, not to punish them or you, but to prepare both sides for what's ahead. Sometimes, the very ones you tried to hold on to were holding you back from growth. Their chapter in your story had ended, but you were trying to keep reading the same page. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 118, verse 22. The stone which the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. That single verse carries a powerful truth: you were never meant to be accepted by everyone. The very people who overlooked you are the same ones who will one day recognize your worth. God has a way of using rejection as redirection, turning the pain of exclusion into the platform of purpose. Every time someone walked away, God was teaching you that not all connections are divine. Some are temporary lessons wrapped in affection. Others are mirrors meant to reveal parts of yourself you needed to heal. But the chosen must learn detachment, the ability to bless what leaves without bitterness, to love from a distance, to release without resentment. Rejection hurts deeply because it touches the core of belonging. But heaven uses that pain to realign your sense of belonging from people to purpose. When you realize that you are chosen by God, human validation begins to lose its grip. You no longer chase after those who misunderstand you, because you understand yourself in Him. Think about it. How many times did you cry over someone leaving, only to discover later that their absence brought peace? How many doors closed that, in hindsight, would have led to destruction if they had stayed open? Every unanswered message, every relationship that faded, every friend who stopped calling at all served divine design. God has been pruning your circle. Not everyone can handle the weight of your calling. Some people loved you at your old level, but your growth intimidated them. Others saw your potential and tried to contain it. And a few were simply never meant to stay. They were sent to teach, to test, and then to leave. So, let go with grace. Forgive without needing apologies. Release without demanding closure. Heaven does not waste pain, and it never subtracts without intending to multiply. Those who left made room for those who are coming. People aligned with your mission. Friends who will pray with you instead of compete with you. Partners who see your light and protect it instead of dimming it. Your heart may still ache at times, but healing is happening quietly inside you. Where bitterness once grew, wisdom is taking root. You are learning to recognize divine endings as part of divine beginnings. You no longer chase after what God has closed. You walk through the doors He opens, and in time, you will thank Him. You will look back and say, "Now I understand." You will see that every rejection positioned you closer to revelation. You will realize that your worth was never lost, it was simply hidden until the right eyes could see it. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand apart. The cornerstone doesn't fit everywhere, it supports what is sacred. You are that cornerstone. The world may have rejected you, but heaven built its design around you. So wipe your tears, go to dışça. What you lost was not your ending, it was your unveiling. You are stepping into a new season of divine connections, where those who come will recognize not just who you are, but whose you are. Let the memory of rejection remind you not of your pain, but of your protection. You are not defined by who left, you are refined by who remains, the God who never walked away. There is a war that no one sees, the quiet conflict that unfolds in the hidden corners of your mind. It's not fought with weapons or noise, but with thoughts that whisper in the dark. You know this battle well. The thoughts that come at night when the world grows still. The accusations that echo in your head telling you that you are not enough, not worthy, not strong. They come like shadows, subtle and persistent, attempting to drown out the voice of truth. This is not just emotion, it's warfare, and the mind is the first battlefield of the chosen. The enemy knows he cannot take your calling, so he tries to take your confidence. He knows he cannot change your destiny, so he tries to distort your direction. That's why your mind has been under such attack lately, why confusion, fear, and doubt have tried to invade the territory of your peace. But what you must remember is that your thoughts are not your identity. They are visitors, and you have the authority to choose which ones stay. The enemy will try to disguise his lies as your own voice. But the spirit inside you speaks truth more powerfully than any deception. The very presence of this battle proves that you are a carrier of divine potential. The mind of a chosen one is dangerous to darkness when it's renewed by truth. You've experienced moments where the weight of overthinking almost suffocated your joy. You've replayed mistakes, conversations, regrets again and again until they became chains around your mind. But beloved, that cycle ends when you recognize that what you think about most is what you empower. When you fix your focus on the light, darkness loses its grip. It was proclaimed in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 1, verse 7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. Those words are not just encouragement, they are a weapon. They are a reminder that fear is foreign to your spirit. It does not belong to you because heaven never planted it in you. What God placed in you is power, the power to speak truth over lies, love over hate, and peace over panic. The enemy thrives in noise. He wants your mind to stay cluttered with worry, shame, and distraction. But when you slow down, when you breathe, when you center your thoughts on the promises of God, His influence begins to crumble. Silence, when filled with the presence of God, becomes a fortress. You must learn to guard your inner gates. The music you listen to, the words you speak, the things you consume, they are all seeds that take root in your thoughts. Some will bear fruit, others will produce weeds. Be intentional about what you allow into your garden. Not every voice deserves access to your mind. The world will try to label you according to your past, but heaven identifies you by your potential. The difference is everything. Your past may describe where you've been, but it doesn't dictate where you're going. Every time you choose truth over lies, heaven celebrates another victory. There is a reason the enemy fights your focus. It's because your clarity is powerful. When your thoughts align with God's word, your life begins to move with divine precision. Ideas flow, peace returns, and you begin to see beyond what is visible. A clear mind hears heaven clearly. Sometimes, the most spiritual thing you can do is rest your mind. Step outside, breathe the air, feel the sun, and remember that you were never designed to live trapped inside your thoughts. The Creator who painted sunsets also painted peace into your spirit. The same God who commands galaxies calls your name and says, "Be still." You are not crazy for feeling the tension between faith and fear. It means you are human. But your humanity does not disqualify you, it invites grace. Every time you choose to turn your thoughts toward God, even in small ways, you are winning the invisible war. You are building resilience, renewing your strength, reprogramming your inner world to match heaven's order. There will still be days when anxiety tries to rise, when doubt knocks at your door, but now you know you do not have to open it. You can speak truth aloud. I have a sound mind. I have peace that surpasses understanding. I have divine focus. Each declaration weakens the grip of fear and strengthens your spiritual awareness. Soon, you will look back and realize that what once tormented you no longer controls you. The same mind that once hosted chaos will become a temple of clarity. You will walk in peace, not because life is easy, but because your thoughts are anchored in something eternal. Remember, beloved, the mind is a battlefield, but it is also sacred ground. Every thought surrendered to God becomes a seed of transformation. You are not losing this fight. You are learning how to win it with truth as your sword, love as your shield, and peace as your crown. The battle in your mind is real, but so is your victory. There always comes a point when everything pauses, when life seems to hold its breath and your soul stands at a crossroads. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That tension between staying where it's safe and stepping into the unknown. It's as if heaven itself has brought you to a threshold, and now you must decide whether to move forward in faith or retreat in fear. The truth is, this moment isn't random. You are standing in divine timing. Everything you've been through, every loss, every lesson, every tear has led you to this exact place. You are being invited to choose, not just between right and wrong, but between obedience and delay, between the familiar and the miraculous. God's voice has been stirring inside you for a while now. It hasn't shouted, it has whispered. You've felt it in your heart, in those quiet moments when you knew something had to change. But every time you tried to move, fear whispered back, "Not yet." That's the whisper that kills purpose, the voice of hesitation disguised as wisdom. You've waited long enough. Heaven is not asking you to understand everything, it's asking you to trust. This is the moment of decision, the line between who you were and who you're becoming. Heaven speaks clearly through the writings of Joshua to Marzin, chapter 24, verse 15. Choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. Those words still echo through time. They are not a suggestion, they are a summons. They remind you that every divine destiny begins with a decision. You cannot serve both fear and faith. You cannot follow the voice of heaven and the noise of doubt at the same time. One will always silence the other. You've been asking God to open doors, but some doors only open when you move. Waiting on God doesn't mean standing still, it means walking in the direction of His promise, even when you can't see the outcome. Faith doesn't remove uncertainty, it redefines it. Faith says, even if I can't see the path, I trust the one who lights it. There's a powerful moment that happens when you decide heaven moves with you. The second you say yes, angels shift assignments, new opportunities align, and strength floods your spirit. You may not feel ready, but readiness is not a condition, it's a choice. The moment you decide to obey, grace meets you there. You might be thinking, but what if I fail? Yet failure only exists when you refuse to try. God isn't asking for perfection, He's asking for participation. Every step forward in obedience is an act of worship. And even if you stumble, His hand will lift you higher than before. Think about how many times you've said, maybe tomorrow, and how tomorrow turned into weeks, then months. But there is no more later. Heaven has drawn a line across time and said, now, not next year, not when things calm down, not when you feel stronger. Now you are standing on sacred ground where destiny demands response. And silence is a decision too. Every delay is a thief that robs you of divine timing. God's plan doesn't expire, but opportunities do. If you keep waiting for perfect conditions, you will miss the miracle that was meant for this very moment. The truth is, you've already survived enough storms to prove that you are ready. The doubts that still speak are echoes from an old season that no longer defines you. You are not who you were when the pain first found you. You've grown. You've healed. You've endured. And now, heaven is saying, step forward. Every chosen one must come to this crossroad where comfort collides with calling. The world will tell you to play it safe, to stay where it's predictable. But destiny calls you into the unknown. That's where miracles are born, in the places where obedience walks ahead of understanding. The moment you decide, something breaks in the spirit realm. The weight you've been carrying begins to lift. The atmosphere around you shifts because heaven always responds to movement. You don't need to have all the answers, you just need to have faith. So, pause here for a moment. Feel the gravity of what's happening. Heaven is waiting on your yes. You are not being pushed, you are being invited. You are not being threatened, you are being chosen. This is your turning point. The moment your obedience becomes the seed of your breakthrough. If you can feel that stirring inside, the sense that this word is for you, take a small, symbolic step of agreement. Comment, I choose now. Those 3 words may seem simple, but they carry power. They're not just text on a screen, they are declaration, alignment, agreement. When you write them, you're saying, I refuse to delay what heaven has ordained. You're declaring to every fear, every doubt, every hesitation, you don't own me anymore. It's a prophetic act, a spiritual handshake with destiny itself. This is not coincidence. Beloved, this is a holy intersection, a meeting between your will and His purpose, and heaven is waiting for your answer. There is a light that cannot be extinguished, the kind that burns quietly inside the soul of the chosen. You carry that light. You felt it flicker in seasons of hardship, glow fiercely in moments of faith, and dim under the weight of sorrow. Yet somehow it has never gone out. That flame within you is heaven's signature, proof that darkness cannot win where divine purpose resides. You've walked through valleys where shadows tried to swallow you, yet your light endured. You've stood in storms that should have crushed your spirit, but the flame refused to die. That's because it wasn't lit by human hands, it was breathed into existence by the breath of God Himself. You are not just surviving, you are glowing through the ashes. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs about chapter 4, verse 18. The path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. Those words are not a poetic metaphor, they are a spiritual law. You were never meant to fade. You were meant to grow brighter. Even when life feels dark, the light within you continues to expand. You are becoming what heaven saw from the beginning, a radiant vessel of divine illumination. But here's the truth many forget: even light needs tending. A fire burns bright only when it's fed. You cannot let distraction, fatigue, or discouragement smother what God ignited. Every act of faith, every moment of gratitude, every prayer whispered in secret, they're all fuel for your flame. And every time you share that light, it grows stronger. Think of your spirit as a lantern in the middle of a vast field, alone. It shines beautifully, but imagine the transformation when hundreds of other lights begin to appear beside it. That's what happens when you share this message, when you pass the flame. You're not just spreading words, you're expanding the light of heaven across a world desperate for hope. If these words have stirred something deep within you, let your light respond, like this message, not as a routine click, but as an act of agreement, as if you're saying, "Yes, I will shine." Every like is a spark that helps the message travel further into the darkness. Share it, too, not because of obligation, but because someone else needs this reminder. There's someone scrolling right now, silently breaking, waiting for a word that will bring them back from the edge. Your share could be the bridge between their despair and their deliverance. That's how light multiplies. It moves through hearts willing to carry it forward. And if this ministry, this flow of divine words, has poured peace or strength into your life, consider becoming part of its continuation. Subscribe to stay connected, to let your soul keep receiving the nourishment it needs. Each message is like a drop of oil, keeping your flame from fading. Staying connected keeps that oil flowing. If you feel led to go even further, to sow, to donate, to invest into what heaven is doing through these words, do it from a place of gratitude, not pressure. Think of it as watering the roots of a tree whose fruit feeds many. Every gift, no matter how small, becomes a seed planted in good soil. From it grows more light, more messages, more hope, reaching others who may never know your name but will feel your impact. Heaven counts every act of generosity as worship. When you give into light, darkness loses territory. When you support what's holy, heaven records your faithfulness. The ripple effect of one seed can touch nations, heal hearts, restore faith in places you'll never see. That's the mystery of divine giving. It multiplies in unseen ways. Maybe your flame feels small today, just a trembling glow in the wind. But remember, even the faintest light can be seen for miles in absolute darkness. Your obedience, your faith, your willingness to carry hope, it matters. You are not insignificant. You are instrumental. And as you continue to shine, heaven surrounds you with others who carry the same fire. Together, your light becomes a bonfire that pushes back the night. Each word you speak in love, each act of kindness, each step of obedience adds fuel to that divine blaze. So tend your flame, feed it with gratitude, guard it with faith, and don't keep it hidden beneath fear or shame. Lift it high, like a lantern on a hill. The world doesn't need more noise, it needs more light. You are that light. And every small act, liking, sharing, subscribing, sowing, is another way of saying to heaven, keep the flame alive. When you give light, you lose nothing. In fact, your own glow grows brighter. The warmth you extend returns multiplied. The same God who lit your spirit will ensure you never run out of oil. There is a quiet shifting happening around you, even if you can't yet see it. The doors that once resisted are beginning to tremble at the sound of destiny approaching. The things that used to confuse you are slowly coming into focus. This is not coincidence, it's divine alignment. The unseen hand of God is rearranging the puzzle pieces of your life, connecting what once felt scattered. At first, it may not look like order. In fact, divine alignment often begins in what feels like disruption. God will shake what's unstable so that only the eternal remains. You may lose what you thought you needed, but what is meant for you cannot be lost. What leaves your life in this season is not punishment, it's pruning. Heaven removes what no longer bears fruit so that something greater can grow. Every season of alignment begins with disorientation. You start to sense a shift, but you don't know where it's leading. That's how heaven works. God doesn't reveal the entire path at once. He invites you to trust Him one step at a time. Faith isn't walking when the road is clear. It's moving when you can see only the next stone beneath your feet. You might not understand why some relationships have ended, why certain plans fell apart, or why doors that once opened now remain shut. But the truth is, God's redirection is protection. What seems like a closed door is often a divine barrier keeping you from something that would have broken you. The alignment of heaven sometimes feels like loss, but it's actually placement. You are being positioned for something greater than you imagined. The wisdom of heaven is written in the ancient book of Proverbs. Chapter 3, verse 6, "In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight." Those words are both instruction and promise. Alignment begins not with striving, but with surrender. When you acknowledge God not just in prayer, but in decisions, in emotions, in ambitions, He begins to direct the flow of your life with divine precision. You may not see the full map, but heaven sees every turn. The detours that once frustrated you were never random. They were recalibrations, like a river guided by the shape of the earth. Your path bends and curves, but it always flows toward the ocean of purpose. Sometimes, the path to alignment requires solitude. God separates you for a season so He can speak without interference. It's in those quiet spaces away from the noise of opinions and expectations that clarity begins to emerge. You start hearing His voice again, not through thunder, but through peace. And when peace returns, that's how you know you're in alignment. You might have thought that alignment meant everything would suddenly be easy. But divine order doesn't remove opposition, it reveals purpose in the midst of it. When your steps are aligned with heaven, even your struggles start serving you. What was meant for harm becomes a tool for growth. Every disappointment refines your discernment. Every delay deepens your dependence. Look back for a moment. Think of the times when you were sure things were falling apart, yet now, looking from this distance, you can see how they were actually falling into place. Every detour was a hidden blessing. Every heartbreak a necessary turning point. The God who wrote your story has never lost track of a single line. Alignment is not about perfection, it's about positioning. It's about learning to flow with heaven's rhythm instead of fighting against it. When you stop forcing outcomes and start trusting timing, peace replaces panic. You realize that you don't have to chase what's meant for you. What's meant for you will find you when you're in the right place, at the right time, with the right heart. The signs of divine alignment are subtle but unmistakable. Synchronicities appear. Doors open without effort. Conversations happen at just the right moment. The right people begin to enter your life not because you searched for them, but because heaven sent them. What once felt heavy begins to feel light, because grace has replaced striving. This is what happens when you live in alignment. Your yes becomes powerful, your prayers become effective, and your presence begins to carry peace wherever you go. You stop living by reaction and start living by revelation. You begin to see divine order in everything, even the things that used to make you question God. If it feels like your world is shifting right now, don't resist it. The shaking is a sign that something new is being built. Alignment requires movement, sometimes forward, sometimes away, but always toward purpose. The same God who started this good work in you is aligning circumstances to complete it. Trust the process, trust the pauses, trust that even when the path feels uncertain, your steps are guided by a hand that never fails. You may not always feel in control, but you are always being carried by grace. The time of confusion is ending. The time of clarity is near. Heaven is aligning your heart, your path, and your purpose, and soon, everything that once felt broken will make sense. You are exactly where you need to be. Sometimes heaven sends signs not in thunder, but in patterned subtle threads woven into your ordinary days. You might notice a certain number that keeps appearing, a phrase that echoes in conversations, a dream that refuses to fade. These are not coincidences, they are divine signatures. God has been speaking to you in ways your spirit recognizes, even when your mind doesn't. You felt at that moment when something inside you whispers, "Pay attention." Perhaps it came through an unexpected encounter, or through a message that arrived at just the right time. That inner nudge isn't random. It's heaven tapping on the door of your awareness, saying, "I'm here. I've been here all along." The chosen rarely receive ordinary communication from heaven. Because your purpose is extraordinary, your confirmations come in ways that defy logic. God knows how to speak your personal language through numbers, symbols, music, memories, even silence. And when He repeats something, it isn't because He wasn't clear. It's because He wants to be sure you're listening. Think back to the patterns you've seen lately. That repeated number, that song you keep hearing, that verse that keeps reappearing, it's all part of a divine dialogue. The physical world echoes spiritual truth, and those echoes are meant to remind you that you are seen. Heaven does not speak randomly, it speaks rhythmically. As was spoken in the sacred texts of old, from the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 28. "And it shall come to pass afterward, that I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions." This is the age of outpouring. The veil between the seen and unseen grows thin for those who are sensitive enough to listen. You are among them. Your dreams, your instincts, your repeating signs, they are not superstition, they are revelation. You are being trained to read the language of heaven. For too long, you doubted your own discernment. You brushed off divine nudges as imagination or mere coincidence. But heaven is confirming what your spirit already knew. You are being guided. Every repetition, every confirmation, every "this can't be random" moment is a breadcrumb on your path of destiny. When the Spirit begins to pour out, He doesn't just reveal information. He awakens identity. The more you pay attention, the more clearly you'll begin to recognize His voice. What was once subtle will become unmistakable. You'll notice divine timing unfolding like clockwork. The right people will appear at the right time, and even delays will begin to make sense. The prophetic signs are not there to impress you. They're there to prepare you. God uses them to align your steps, to affirm your decisions, and to reassure your weary heart that you're still on the right path. The numbers you see, the words you hear, the inner stirrings you feel, each one is a love letter from heaven, signed in symbols instead of ink. But remember, this revelation without response loses its power. When God sends a sign, it calls for acknowledgement. The same way you answer a message from someone you love, you must respond to the signals from heaven. A simple whisper, "I hear you, Lord," can shift the atmosphere around you. Recognition unlocks revelation. You don't have to understand every sign right away. Some are meant to guide you gradually, to be understood in hindsight. But each one builds your trust, teaches you to lean not on logic, but on listening. The divine always speaks before it manifests. Heaven announces before it arrives. Right now, you are in a season of confirmation. The signs around you are increasing because you are being positioned for something greater. The Spirit is pouring out insight, guidance, and wisdom, preparing you for the doors that are about to open. Pay attention. The numbers you see are not random. They are coordinates pointing toward purpose. And when you see them again on a clock, on a receipt, on a license plate, smile. Heaven is saying, I'm still here. Keep going. If this word stirs something inside your spirit, if you know deep down that this message is your confirmation, then make a declaration right now. Comment 9999. That number represents completion, divine fulfillment, and the transition into new beginnings. When you type it, do it as a prophetic act, as if you are saying to heaven, I recognize the signs. I am ready for what comes next. It's not about the number itself, it's about agreement. You are marking this moment as sacred, sealing it with acknowledgement. Heaven moves when you respond in faith. The signs around you are not coincidences, they are coordinates. Each one is guiding you closer to the future written for you before time began. Trust the language of heaven. The code is divine, and your spirit already knows how to read it. The refining season, how few understand it while they are inside it. It feels cruel at times, like the fire will never stop, like everything familiar is being stripped away piece by piece. Yet what looks like destruction is actually construction. The fire is not sent to burn you down. It is sent to burn away what cannot remain. There is no chosen one who escapes this process. Every person marked for divine purpose must walk through the furnace of refinement. It is the sacred paradox of heaven that greatness is born in discomfort, that glory emerges from ashes, that only through surrender do you become unshakable. You have felt this fire, haven't you? The disappointment that tore at your trust, the delays that tested your patience, the betrayals that exposed what you depended on. You prayed for strength, and heaven answered with situations that required it. You asked for growth, and God gave you circumstances that stretched your faith until it nearly snapped. That is the language of refinement. At first, the process feels like punishment. You look at what is breaking and wonder if God has turned his face away, but he hasn't. The silence you hear is not absence, it is attention. The refiner never leaves the gold while it's in the fire. He watches closely, adjusting the heat until every impurity rises to the surface. The prophet Malachi recorded it perfectly in the sacred scrolls. Chapter 3, verse 3. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. That single image holds 1,000 truths. The refiner does not walk away. He sits, he waits, he watches the reflection form in the metal. Only when he can see his own face clearly does he know the process is complete. That is what heaven is doing with you. The fire continues not because you are forgotten, but because you are being finished. You are being polished into reflection. The pain you've endured is creating transparency. You are learning what cannot stay: fear, pride, dependency on human validation. They are melting away so that purity, humility, and purpose can emerge. The refining fire is not the end of you, it is the unveiling of you. Think about it. Before gold shines, it looks ordinary, almost dull. But under fire, the hidden radiance within it begins to appear. So it is with your soul. The heat you feel is not a sign of failure, it is the sound of transformation. The very thing that tried to destroy you is becoming the reason you'll shine brighter than ever. Every tear you've cried has cleansed the surface of your heart. Every heartbreak has softened the hardness that once kept you guarded. Every trial has purified your intentions, separating what is real from what is noise. The fire doesn't just reveal your strength, it reveals your truth. You are learning to stand differently now, not out of pride, but out of peace. You no longer need to prove yourself, you simply need to be yourself. The version of you that entered the fire will not be the same one that emerges. Something new is forming, something purer, sharper, more luminous. Heaven knows exactly how much heat you can handle. The process has been painful, yes, but never pointless. Every test, every challenge, every silent night was calibrated to refine, not destroy. The gold cannot question the fire. It must trust the hands that hold it. One day soon, you'll understand why the flames were necessary. The people who left, the plans that collapsed, the silence that forced you to rely on God alone, all of it was orchestrated with precision. Without the fire, you would have carried too much of what was temporary into what is eternal. And when you finally step out of this refining season, your reflection will astonish even you. The same situations that once broke your heart will no longer have power over you. You'll walk through places that once made you tremble and feel nothing but peace. Because once gold has been refined, it cannot return to its old form. It has become something else, something incorruptible. If you could see what heaven sees, you would thank God for the fire. You would realize that this is not the end of your story, but the beginning of your strength. Every chosen one must walk through their furnace before they can carry glory. So endure a little longer. The heat may rise, but it will not consume you. The flames may burn, but they will not destroy what's eternal inside you. You are being prepared for visibility, for responsibility, for divine authority. The fire is your teacher, your sculptor, your proving ground. When the refiner finally sees his reflection in you, the fire will ease, the silence will break. And what will remain is something unshakable, pure faith, unwavering trust, and a soul that glows like polished gold. This is not the end. It's refinement in progress. Heaven is still sitting, still watching, still shaping you into the vessel it designed before time began. And soon, when you look back, you will see it clearly. The fire didn't ruin you. It revealed you. Every crown begins with a cross. Every chosen one who carries divine authority must first carry divine weight. It is the sacred order of heaven before the glory. There is surrender before the rising. There is the crushing. The crown you are destined to wear cannot rest on a head that has not bowed. You have felt that tension, the constant pull between pain and promise. One moment you feel the fire of destiny burning within you, and the next you feel the heaviness of obedience pressing against your shoulders. This is the paradox of the chosen to be trusted with greatness. You must first walk through humility. You've asked God to use you, and He has answered, but not in the way you expected. His training ground rarely looks like a throne room. It looks like isolation, misunderstanding, and sacrifice. Before David wore the crown, he endured years in the wilderness. Before Esther entered the palace, she endured months of preparation. Before Jesus was exalted, he carried a cross through the streets of rejection. You are in that sacred process. The cross you carry is not punishment, it is preparation. The weight of it feels personal because your cross is custom built for your calling. It touches the exact places where pride, fear, and self-reliance still hide. It strips you of what's false so that only what's eternal remains. As recorded in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 9, verse 23. Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me. Those words are not simply an invitation, they are a declaration of transformation. Taking up your cross is not about suffering for suffering's sake. It's about alignment. Each time you choose obedience over comfort, love over bitterness, humility over recognition, you are carrying your cross. And with every step, your spirit grows stronger, your perspective clearer, your soul lighter. The cross is a strange teacher. It breaks you, but only to rebuild you differently. It empties you, but only so heaven can fill you. It silences you, but only to make your voice echo with greater authority. What feels like loss is actually the refining of purpose. The cross shapes your hands to hold the crown without pride and your heart to wear it without corruption. Every trial you've endured, every betrayal you've survived, every moment you've chosen grace instead of revenge, those are your hidden victories. Heaven counts them. You may not see it yet, but your endurance has been storing treasures in the unseen. When the time comes, the rewards of those hidden choices will manifest publicly. There is no crown without the cross because the cross proves your heart can handle the weight of glory. The crown is not made of gold alone. It is forged from tears, obedience, and unwavering trust. It gleams with the reflection of every yes you whispered in moments when no would have been easier. Think of what the cross has already done in you. You've learned compassion through pain. You've learned patience through delay. You've learned strength through surrender. The very things that once wounded you have now become wells of wisdom for others. The cross transforms pain into power, not through vengeance, but through victory over self. There are days when you might still feel the sting of sacrifice. You might wonder why the road is narrow, why the burden feels heavier for you than for others. But the deeper the calling, the narrower the path. God doesn't entrust the weight of crowns to those who haven't been tested by crosses. Your trials are not random, they are divine craftsmanship. Each one has been tailored to purify your motives, sharpen your discernment, and strengthen your endurance. You are learning what few ever master: how to bleed and still bless, how to lose and still love, how to carry pain without letting it poison your purpose. When you finally reach the season of crowning, you will understand. You'll see that the weight of the cross and the weight of the crown were always equal. The cross taught you endurance. The crown will reveal your reward. The cross tested your faith. The crown will prove it. There is a beauty in this sacred exchange. Heaven never forgets a cross that was carried faithfully. Every tear becomes a jewel, every sacrifice a stone, every act of obedience a golden thread woven into the design of your destiny. One day you'll look back and realize that the pain was never meant to destroy you, it was meant to crown you. You'll see that every time you carried your cross through the dark, heaven was already fitting your crown in the light. The world may never understand the cost of your journey, but heaven does. The angels witnessed every step. And when your appointed time arrives, the same heaven that called you to carry will call you to reign. Until then, keep walking with steady faith. The cross may still feel heavy, but every step brings you closer to coronation. The pain that once humbled you will soon become the glory that honors you. The crown is coming, beloved, but for now, carry your cross with courage. Across time, God has always gathered His chosen ones. He calls them from scattered corners of the world, from quiet hearts and crowded cities, from those who never thought their voice mattered. It's happening again. You are part of that gathering. Heaven is uniting a generation of lights, people who have walked through fire and still carry hope in their eyes. Each one of you is a living flame, and together, you form a constellation of divine purpose. You've probably felt it lately, a magnetic pull, a sense that you're not alone in this spiritual journey, that others too are awakening, hearing the same call echoing through their spirit. You've been drawn here not by algorithm or chance, but by alignment. Like rivers flowing toward one ocean, heaven is directing every chosen heart toward a single purpose: illumination. For where 2 or 3 are gathered in His name, something eternal stirs. Love amplifies, faith multiplies, and hope becomes tangible. And you are not a single voice shouting into the void. You are part of a divine choir rising across the earth. And when you lift your voice, when you share truth, when you speak light, heaven harmonizes with you. There's something powerful about unity among the chosen. One flame can warm a room, but 1,000 can set a city ablaze. When people of purpose come together, the impossible begins to move. Every prayer, every word, every act of love becomes a spark in heaven's great design. According to what is written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 20, "For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I among them." Those words are not symbolic, they are reality. Right now, as you read this, heaven leans close. The same Spirit that hovered over creation is hovering here, weaving connection between every soul that encounters this message. You are not reading alone, someone else, somewhere else, is reading too. And heaven is linking your destinies through faith. You are part of something larger than your personal struggle. This isn't just a message, it's a movement. God is awakening His remnant, those who still believe when belief costs something, those who choose compassion over comparison, prayer over panic, surrender over striving. The world may be dark, but you are being gathered to carry light into it. And as this movement grows, you become a bridge. Your words, your presence, your testimony, they reach others who need to know they are not forgotten. A simple act, like liking this message, is more than engagement. It's agreement. It's saying, yes, I'm part of this light. Every click becomes a candle, and together they turn the darkness into daybreak. When you share this message, you're not promoting a brand, you're extending a hand. Someone out there is on the edge, praying for a sign, asking if God still sees them. Your share might be the answer to that prayer. It might be the whisper that stops a storm inside another soul. That's how the chosen operate. They pass the fire forward. If you haven't yet, subscribe, not out of obligation, but out of connection. Think of it as joining a circle of light. Each message you receive is another log on the fire, keeping your flame alive. This space isn't just about words, it's about presence. It's about walking together through the wilderness, guided by the same pillar of divine fire. And if you feel stirred to go beyond receiving, to donate, to sow into the work, do it from the heart. You're not just giving to a platform, you're investing in people, in lives being transformed one word at a time. It's like adding oil to a lamp that burns for others when their own wick grows dim. Every seed sown into light multiplies beyond your reach. There's beauty in knowing you are part of a living tapestry of faith. Every like, every comment, every act of giving is a thread woven by heaven. And when the pattern is complete, the world will see what God was building all along, a global family of the chosen, united not by appearance or location, but by fire. If these words touch your heart, leave a comment below, not because I asked, but because it helps your own voice join the echo. Write something as simple as what this moment means to you. Someone scrolling through might see your words and find hope again. That's how heaven works. It speaks through ordinary people carrying extraordinary faith. The gathering of the chosen is not happening in stadiums or temples, it's happening in hearts, in hidden places, through screens and whispers and digital flames that cannot be extinguished. You are part of that divine story, and every act of connection, every click, every share, every gift is a verse written in heaven's book. So stand with your light. Let your heart respond to this call. You are not one voice lost in the crowd. You are one note in heaven's great symphony, and together, we are the sound that darkness cannot silence. The storms you faced were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to define you. Every wave that rose against you only revealed how deeply your roots have grown. There is a strength inside you now that even you didn't know existed. It's not loud strength. It's quiet, steady, immovable like a mountain that endures both sunlight and storm. Faith becomes unshakable not in comfort, but in chaos. When everything familiar collapses, when plans fall apart and prayers seem unanswered, that is when faith proves what it truly is: not a feeling, but a foundation. The chosen learn early that storms are not signs of divine absence. They are invitations to deeper trust. You have been through winds that should have broken you, yet here you stand. The fact that you are still breathing, still believing, still hoping, that alone is evidence of divine endurance. You are not standing on your own strength. You are standing on the rock of something eternal. The words of Jesus echo through the ages, recorded in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 24. Everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man building on the rock. That verse has always been more than instruction. It is revelation. The storms of life reveal what you've built upon. When your foundation is truth, you may bend, but you will not break. When your heart is anchored in God's promises, no storm, no betrayal, no delay can uproot you. Faith is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to keep standing when fear demands you fall. It's looking into the storm and saying, I still believe. It's refusing to let temporary pain dictate eternal perspective. Each time you've done that, your faith has grown stronger, even if you didn't feel it. There's a stillness that comes after the storm. Isn't there that quiet air, heavy with peace and promise? You've felt it before, the strange calm that settles over your spirit after the tears have dried. That's not emptiness, it's sacred rebuilding. It's heaven whispering, you made it. In those moments, something powerful happens. Gratitude begins to rise from the ashes of exhaustion. You realize that the storm you feared was actually the tool that stripped away everything false. It didn't just test your faith, it purified it. You're different now, and you can feel it. The things that once triggered panic now meet your peace instead. The fears that once shouted have lost their voice. You've learned that true faith doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers through trembling lips. I trust you anyway. Sometimes it looks like showing up even when you don't see results, praying even when heaven feels silent, or forgiving when your heart still aches. Each act of faith has built the foundation that now holds you steady. And though storms may come again, they won't find the same version of you they once did. You've been fortified. The lessons you've learned have become your shelter. You no longer react. You respond. You no longer fear endings. You look for what's being born within them. Unshakable faith doesn't mean unbroken life. It means that no matter how hard the shaking, something inside you remains whole. It means that when everything else trembles, the core of who you are stays anchored in truth. The chosen are not spared from storms, they are strengthened through them. Your endurance has become your testimony. Others may see calmness in your eyes and mistake it for naivety, but heaven knows it's wisdom. It's the quiet power of someone who has seen the waves, faced the wind, and realized that God's hand was always beneath the surface, steadying their steps. Faith like this changes everything. It transforms fear into fuel, pain into perspective, and struggle into strength. You begin to walk differently, slower, but surer. You stop chasing what can crumble and start investing in what endures. You build your peace not on people, but on promises, and that is why nothing can move you now. The same winds that once frightened you now remind you of how far you've come. You've walked through seasons of doubt and despair and found that God's presence never truly left. Even when you couldn't feel Him, He was the stillness beneath the storm. This is what it means to have unshakable faith, not a faith that avoids storms, but one that stands firm through them. You have become a living testament of stability in a world of shifting ground. Your life is the evidence that what's built on divine truth cannot be destroyed. So rest now, knowing that the shaking has only revealed your strength. The winds have passed, the waves have calmed, and your foundation stands untouched. Heaven looks at you and says, "This one did not fall." You are stronger than you know, steadier than you feel, and more grounded than ever before. The unshakable faith you've built is not just for you, it's for those who will find shelter in your endurance. Your story will teach others that no storm lasts forever, and no heart built on truth will ever collapse. There comes a moment when heaven stops whispering and begins to call clear, steady, undeniable. It is not the trembling invitation of beginnings, but the commanding tone of purpose fulfilled. You have walked through darkness and dawn, endured fire and storm, and now the sound you hear in your spirit is the final call of destiny. Heaven is saying, "Rise. It is time." This is not the same time you waited for in past seasons. This is not the anticipation of something distant, it is the awakening of something already within you. The long preparation, the refining, the pruning, the tears, all of it was leading here. The pieces that once felt scattered now form a picture, and in that image, you finally recognize yourself as heaven always saw you, chosen, equipped, and ready. There is a sacred weight to this moment. You are standing on the threshold of fulfillment, between what was promised and what will manifest. And even now, the atmosphere around you carries that shift. You can feel it, something inside you has changed. You no longer see through the lens of fear, but of faith. You no longer carry uncertainty, but authority. The timid one who questioned every step has become the warrior who walks without hesitation. The prophet Isaiah captured this call centuries ago in his writings, chapter 6, verse 8. "Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, 'Whom shall I send and who will go for us?' And I said, 'Here am I. Send me.'" That moment is repeating in your life now. The same question echoes across time, reaching your heart, waiting for your response. Heaven doesn't ask because it doesn't know, it asks so that you will hear your own answer. And when you say, "Here am I," something shifts in the spirit realm. You are no longer waiting for destiny, you have become it. You may still feel unqualified, still question your worthiness, but that is the mark of the called. Those who know their weakness also know their dependence on divine strength. God doesn't choose the flawless, He chooses the faithful. He doesn't look for those who never doubt, He looks for those who believe despite doubt. Your willingness matters more than your perfection. Every step you've taken has been guided. Every delay has been divine strategy. Even the pain that once felt meaningless was shaping your compassion, deepening your understanding, preparing your heart for others. The purpose you carry is not just for you, it is for those who will find freedom through your obedience. You are not the end of the story. You are the continuation of it. This call does not ask you to become someone new. It asks you to be who you already are beneath the fear. The strength, wisdom, and courage you need are already inside you, planted there long ago by the same hands that shape the stars. You are simply being reminded of what has always been true. The final call is not about doing more, it's about becoming fully aligned. It's stepping into your role with peace instead of pressure, trust instead of striving. It's saying yes to the unknown because you finally understand who walks beside you. You are entering a season where your life itself becomes the message. People will see peace where there should be panic, light where there should be bitterness, and they will know it's divine. You won't have to announce your transformation, it will speak through your presence. The chosen rarely recognize the magnitude of their call until they begin walking in it. You won't realize how far you've come until you start seeing lives change simply because you obeyed. That's how heaven works. It multiplies obedience into miracles. And yet, even as this new chapter begins, humility remains your compass. The closer you walk with glory, the more you bow before it. The higher you rise, the deeper your gratitude grows. This is how the chosen remain grounded, by remembering that the power they carry was never theirs to begin with. Soon, everything that once made you weep will become part of your testimony. Every unanswered prayer will find its explanation. You'll see how heaven wove even your broken moments into something whole. The years of waiting will no longer feel wasted. They'll look like preparation for such a time as this. Now, stand still for a moment. Feel that sacred stillness pressing around you. That's heaven pausing, not because it's uncertain, but because it's witnessing the fulfillment of a prophecy written long before you were born. You are stepping into the space between calling and completion. This is your final call, not the end, but the awakening. Heaven is ready. The earth is waiting. And your spirit, after all the storms and silence, is finally steady enough to say the words that change everything. Here am I. Send me. The light that began as a spark has become a flame. The voice that trembled has become a trumpet. And the one who once hid in the shadows now stands radiant, crowned not by circumstance but by calling. Chosen one, you've reached the end of this journey, but in truth, it's not the end at all. It's the turning of a page, the soft breath before the next divine chapter begins. You have walked through revelation, fire, peace, and purpose. Each word has been a seed, and now heaven waits to see what you'll do with what's been planted inside you. You were never here by accident. Something greater led you to this moment to remind you of who you are, to awaken what the world tried to bury. The calling on your life is not fragile, it's eternal. What God started in you, He will finish. And the light that's been reignited in your spirit today will continue to shine long after these words fade from your screen. If this message has stirred something in you, don't keep it hidden. Like this message as an act of gratitude, as if you're saying, I receive this light. Let it be a small flame that signals heaven. I'm still listening. Share it with someone who needs to remember that their story isn't over. You never know whose life might change because you passed on a spark. Maybe your share becomes the whisper that brings another soul back from despair. Comment your reflection below. What spoke to you? What moment awakened something inside? Your words may be the very message another heart is praying to see. And if this space has become a home for your spirit, subscribe not for numbers, but for connection. So that when heaven speaks again, you'll be here to hear it. Carry this truth: you are chosen, seen, and deeply loved. This isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of your rise.